Hello and welcome back to the Smart Start Recreational Therapy Insights YouTube series. We are on week number 28, everyone, and it's crazy. Last week we talked about inclusive sports and recreation and how we can put our programs and adapt them for people of various needs. And, a couple episodes back, we had a special guest, and she's back, Karnada Lewis. And she is actually coming back to talk to us today about cultural competence in RT. And so she picked a few topics on the list of topics, so she'll actually be back one more time, it looks like.
Yeah.
And today we're going to explore her experience, kind of do this in the interview style that we did last time. And, hopefully we learn a lot of ways that we can put this into practice in our practice. So without further ado, Karnada Lewis,
Hi.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Yes. Hi. So first of all, why did you choose this topic? Why is this topic important to you?
Because I come across so many different peoples from various backgrounds, and I mesh well with people. I'm just a people person. But I find myself, because of my genetic makeup ancestrally, I can pass for anything.
Now, what are you? No,
right?
Kidding.
But doing the research, I've come across that I have a multitude of ethnic groups. So depending on what I put on my head, how I wear my hair, I get mistaken for everything. And people just assume, and we start talking and meshing, and then I tell them, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So it's never been a problem for me to get along with people from different backgrounds. It's always been easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife is half Mexican, half German.
Okay.
And throughout life, she had in school, the cultural groups treated her differently depending on who it was that was talking to her. And she also felt like she was bullied for that, honestly. She was either not Mexican enough or not white enough. And so she dealt with bullying in that way. And I'm pretty sure with all the mixing of the world that we live in, there's people doing that to other people all the time, which is stupid.
Yeah.
But
it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. But she had that experience. And so our clients, they could be dealing with this as well. And also they might, have their own biases and their own, things that are going on in their head, whatever leads up to that, their experience or their lack of knowledge or whatever it is, right? So what experiences, personal or clinical, led you to become more intentional about cultural responsiveness in your practice?
For me, it started back, I'll say high school. So like your wife, I dealt with the same thing. I was either not black enough or trying to be too white. Because the way I wore my hair in high school, you really could not tell. I could straighten my hair out, and if it's December, you couldn't tell. Because on both sides of my family, my mother and father, there's diversity, deep diversity. Caucasian, Native American, Indian from India. So it's a good mix of everything.
That's cool.
So I think for me, I always got along better with diverse groups, and that always stuck with me. So I was never a person that I know color is a thing, but I try to get to know the person first.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that always stuck with me even since high school. And that's why I'm so passionate about working with people from different backgrounds, because their cultures are so interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm from Louisiana.
That's a culture in itself.
That's a culture within itself, you know? So just getting to know the various aspects is interesting to me. Always has been.
So besides, you brought up a point, besides race, different parts of the country. Like I'm from California. I come out to Texas where I live now. And California and Texas are very different. People are very different.
Yes.
On the East Coast, very different. In the North, very different. You go outside of the country to other countries, very different, right? So there's a lot of factors that probably impact that, right? It's like upbringing, what you see around you, all that.
Yes.
So, yeah, and that's interesting. So, what does it look like when a recreational therapist is being culturally competent during an assessment or intervention? So, what would that look like for something maybe you've done or?
Me personally, since I've been here, a lot of my clients are Hispanic, Mexican, right? And a lot of them don't speak English. So I'm making a specific effort to utilize the technology that we have, like Google Translate. So having a conversation back and forth through that and like asking questions, building relationships, like that to me across any race, any cultural background is good. Like wanting to know, how's your family doing? Well, let me try this. This looks good, food wise. You know what I'm saying? Not saying you got to do that, like, but I'm just, I'm just saying I'm kind of a foodie.
Oh,
but I'm a picky. Like I like to try stuff, but that's not something you have to do. You being open, asking those relationship building type of questions. Like, okay, so where did you come from? What did they like to do? Like, for instance, what we call soccer, they call football. Mm-hmm. So when it's like soccer season, who's doing good football wise, and so and that breaks a barrier.
Use the word that they use.
Use the word that they use. Exactly.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like, what about like coming into their world and they don't know you? What were some of the things besides talking about like things that are in common, things that you did to break down any barriers that might have been perceived?
I think being open about what's in my DNA.
Okay.
Because I do get mistaken for a lot of different things. So when somebody sees me off top, they automatically assume, right?
Yeah.
And then when I break it down to them, it for me, it may not work for everybody, but from what I've seen, it brings a level of comfort to know that, okay, she's diverse, or okay, just being open to listen about, say, what's going on with their day. Because sometimes I'll come into an assessment and it's crazy. So I'm like, hey, okay, y'all all right. Just being a genuine person. Do I need to reschedule? I can come back. What's going on? Do you need to talk first? That building the relationship, I feel like, is most important.
Yeah, so the initial step.
We
need to make sure everybody feels comfortable.
Comfort, yes.
So we're going to try to relate as much as possible.
Yes, that's the most important thing. No matter, to me, from what I've experienced, no matter the race, the cultural background, letting a person know that you genuinely care about them is a door opener. All the other stuff you'll figure out, with the family, with the parent, but just showing that you genuinely care opens so many doors.
Yeah. And rec therapists, as we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be empathetic. We're supposed to, put ourselves in the place of the people that we're talking to. Mm-hmm. And so I think that gives us an advantage in that. Yeah. So can you share a time that you had to adjust your approach because of a client's cultural background or beliefs? So you talked about words that you've used, but is there any other times that maybe you had to like change something so that they felt comfortable, they felt like they were loved or cared about?
I would say not bringing, and this, a lot of people may be a little controversial about this one, but not bringing the Bible in so much to a conversation. Like just saying, I believe in God, a higher power, yada, yada. Because some clients I have had, they're not religious. They're spiritual.
That could be a turn off.
That could be a complete turn off.
Because maybe they've had bad experience with the church or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so being aware of that, and then so you're not using religious language. So is there a certain like scenario, an actual like story you can give us?
One time I went to, it was an African American home to do an assessment, and me personally, I'm more spiritual. They were more religious. But my background, I grew up in a non-denominational and like Baptist-based type of upbringing. So to make them feel comfortable, I put myself aside and said God, or brought up about how Jesus, which is true, depending on your level and where you're at and what you believe. So it didn't bother me to meet them halfway on using more religious terms when they took the conversation there. And that's the whole key. If they take it there, then they're comfortable. Go with them. But still
kind of feeling it out.
Kind of feeling it out and letting them know that, hey, I get it, but I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Mm-hmm.
But still showing them that I have an understanding, make them feel better about who and what I was.
So let's say, like, hypothetically, you run into somebody who has a very different belief set than you do. And let's say that you start noticing some, like the way that they're talking, you can kind of okay, I can kind of tell that maybe when I say certain words that it's causing maybe some nonverbal cues, some things like on their facial expressions or something, and you're aware that, okay, maybe I shouldn't go down that route.
Like I said, I'm different. So I'm going to ask, what am I saying that makes you feel uncomfortable? Because I want this to be comfortable. I want this to be fun because it's purposeful. So what is it that I can do to make you feel more comfortable so that you're getting everything that you need from this?
And then for them, if they feel like they can tell you that, and let's say they told you something that you disagreed with, would you just respect that and kind of just figure out how to work with them?
Because that's how they feel. Like, I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it and try to maneuver as best I can to respect how they feel, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about them getting this therapy and progressing holistically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can. A lot of people can't. That's the thing. Even within our profession, I've seen professionals not be able to put their ego to the side to look to the betterment of the client, the patient. I can do that. Like, there's not really a whole lot that can be said, and I'm like, no, I can put it to the side and maneuver to help this client progress. And that within itself shows the client that you're willing to meet them halfway. So they may even be willing to kind of maneuver and change their wording because they see that you're willing.
Yeah, because you showed them respect.
You show them respect.
And I think that's kind of the key for us to all be aware of, is that we're working with clients that we're there to serve, right? And one of the best ways to serve, right, to start out with, is build that connection, show them respect and dignity, right? And treat them how you would want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seriously, be good to people. No matter, you can't control how people treat you, but you have control over how you treat people. And that's one of my main things I live by. Be good to people. Even if you get that person
yeah, even if they're yelling at you,
even if they're yelling, saying all kind of stuff, you still be good to them. Because at some point it's going to click and they're going to realize, hey, out of everybody, Miss K was nice to me. Even if I was going off on her, she still was there. You know what I'm saying?
They might realize they're being a jerk.
They might realize on their own. You know what I'm saying? For real. So just be good.
Kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness.
All right. So what are some ways that culture can influence a client's views on recreational leisure and therapy itself?
Oh my gosh.
I know a few from my experience, but I want to hear from you first.
And it's not so much as the client. It's more of the caregivers.
Okay.
I have noticed, and I love this quality about the Hispanic Mexican population, the work ethic, right? I love it. I think them and Black people, we got kind of the same type of things, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to cultural ways of looking at things and doing and maneuvering, even other cultures. But I noticed with this particular client's family, especially the grandfather, he works so much. I don't think, unless this particular client's caregiver, which is the abuelo's daughter, makes him, he don't stop. So, getting the idea even to the client's caregivers about, hey, it's okay to relax. It's okay to have fun. This one time, it was a couple of weeks ago, matter of fact, I was done with the session, and I like to just talk, shoot the breeze and whatnot, and just the continuing building that rapport and relationship. I was fussing at him, the abuelo. I was like, when you going to sit down? When you going to take a break? But that's just my personality. He was laughing. He was like, yeah, I know it. You know, he was laughing and
he's like, you can't stop.
Right. I was like, are you drinking water? Because I'm that type of person. Once I start working with you and build a rapport, I want you to know I care. Yeah. Right? So I was fussing at him. Like I would fuss at my brother or my dad. Like, are you... When you gonna sit down?
Take a breather.
Yeah. Take a break. So sometimes for me, what I have noticed in this practice, it's not so much as the client that you have to get leisure is okay too. It's more of the caregivers and their family members, because you only get them for this amount of hour, this 1 or 2 days. The rest of the time they with them. So you got to get that mindset in them so it's easier for you to work with clients and they get it too.
Yeah. So I was going to point out another thing. What I learned from my wife with her family is a lot of times in the Hispanic culture, they don't look at therapy as, like, let's say you go to a psych hospital or go to a counselor. They look at it as like, why would I ever need to go to therapy? Or just pray it away or something like that.
And I'm like I said, that's why I said the Hispanic and Black culture, we do have a lot of similarities even with that, because I've noticed that too, that I can just pray it away, or I can just that's not anything real. So what I do, if I know this is a stout Catholic, right, like they stout Catholic, I bring up the point, well, how do you not figure that God created this for us to have, so that his people can be better? Because they're seeing make medicine.
Yeah, like medicine, just because it was made by a doctor or something, doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right. So I try to approach it from the aspect of, and I even have to kind of dig in within my own family with certain things. Like, how do you figure God didn't put that idea in somebody's head?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and he created us, right? So
just that aspect, I think just the perspective, getting them to kind of see it from, even if they take it or not, right? At least you set up a different perspective for them to think about. And that within itself makes it easier.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, let's skip that one. Let's go to any books or trainings that you've ever read or taken part of that maybe you could recommend to the audience that they could continue to learn, maybe a YouTube channel or something you've noticed.
Literally, this 20 plus years, it's been all experience for me.
Okay.
I've never gone to a class. I know that they have developed now set classes for you to take at school. Now, there is this one group here in Tyler. It's a nonprofit social advocacy groups. I believe that's the name of it. And they do like culturally diverse, inclusive type of trainings here in Tyler. I would say if you want to get more education on that, just do a Google search to see if there are any like nonprofits or even any schools that's doing like continuing education. But for me, it's literally been experience, like figuring it out. I've never gone to a class or, and it's been,
So what about like, because there are going to be some people out there, I imagine, that would be like, I don't know where to start with getting to know, like you brought up race, right? So, and this goes into even a bigger thing, right? Like, how do you go about learning what you don't know and getting more comfortable with different cultures?
I would say if there is somebody you can talk to that you're cool with, right, that you're close to, that is of a different race, ask them. Look, what are some things I should not talk about? What are some things that are okay about? Like, what do you recommend I do because I'm going to see this particular person from the Hispanic community.
And I don't want to be aware of.
Yeah, what are some things I should be aware of so I don't cross that line and make them feel disrespected?
Yeah, which is good. Like if you're going to another country, you'd want to research like what is the customs of that country.
Right.
I know that I heard this, like for instance, and I went to a wedding for some people that were Sikh and from Middle East.
Okay.
And we were in this area where like we were all supposed to go to the service afterwards, and I was like, okay, this is like their church. And so when we walked in, women were supposed to have their head covered. So we noticed that. So my mom, who was with me at this event, so she covered her hair. But then I didn't know this, and I learned later. I walked in with shoes, and it's really disrespectful to have shoes on. And because like let's say you're sitting down with people and you have because you sit on the floor, you don't sit in chairs at this place. If you put your feet out in front of you, which sometimes people do, you show people the bottom of your feet, it's a sign of disrespect. So I learned something about a culture that I wasn't intending to do that offended somebody. And so obviously I changed that, but I wouldn't have known that unless I had the experience. Yeah. So I think that was a really helpful thing for me.
Yeah.
All right. So have you ever made a cultural misstep? That's a good question. And then how did you handle it?
When I assumed, and this is maybe a little trivial, but when I had a Caucasian client and the mom, I assumed that they were religious. They were atheists.
Do you just assumed what? Like, just because you assumed everybody?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because of the area, right?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10...
This is East Texas?
Right.
Yeah, so East Texas is in the Bible Belt, y'all, if you don't know.
Yeah.
Tyler, Texas is where we're at.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just automatically assumed, and when I brought up about like a higher power and like, stuff like that, I got this stout like, like I was like, I didn't mean any, I profusely apologized, and then they came out and said, hey, we're atheists, we don't believe in all that. I was like, okay, cool. So I stopped right there in my tracks and just kept it strictly about the assessment. And
were they cool afterwards?
Yeah, they were fine afterwards. Because obviously, they saw that I was genuine and apologizing, and I kept apologizing. Because I'm the type of person, I don't like to offend nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big thing for me. So I kept apologizing here and there, and they were like, Miss K, it's okay, we get it. You didn't know. How would you know? We see that you're genuine. It's fine. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I bet that's a relief, right?
It was a big relief. It was.
Yeah, and then you're able to work with the client. And,
yes.
Yeah. All right. So, what are some mistakes you've noticed other therapists? Like, if you ever heard a story from another therapist that maybe they made a cultural mistake, and that you could share that.
Trying to think.
While you're thinking, I can think of one that, there's a couple. So when I was working in psych, you got one?
Ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was working at psych in Longview, Texas, which is an hour away. And while we were there, they're in an old school building where you got to use keys to open doors versus like a key card.
Yes.
They didn't even have electronic charting. They had
way back.
Yeah, they had written. This wasn't even way back. This is like 7 years ago. Like this is.
Oh man.
This is like They should have known. They should have had computers and stuff like that. But we were writing notes by hand and doing all that. Besides that, so sometimes when there would be something going on, there would be the alarm that goes off, and that means something's up. Right, and we were trained to go to that location, wherever that was, and do a show of support, which is like a show of force, but show of support is what they call it, right? And we go to this. It was in the cafeteria in this instance, and we get to the cafeteria, and there's a tech on the ground. So one of the techs is on the ground, and he was being strangled by this guy. And the guy was African American. The tech was Caucasian. And didn't know what had happened before this. Like, all I knew was like, this is going on, and then there's a bunch of crowded people that are along the side of the room, and they're saying all types of stuff, saying it was racial, they're going on and on and on, right? Well, I ended up grabbing the patient, getting him off of the tech, and I had him in a bear hug, and I did what we were supposed to do, is like take them over to the counselor, divert the eyes so they don't look at the person that they're angry at, right? And allow someone else to handle the other people that were involved. And found out later that there was like these two guys shouldn't have been sitting at the table together. There was the guy that was across the table from him was a KKK gang leader, and this guy Luther, that's just his first name, he had a chip on his shoulder about a lot of stuff. Well, they were sitting at a table with that tech, and the guy said something, and the other guy reacted, and then they got in this big fight where they're throwing chairs, and so that happened, and the tech stepped in, and the tech ended up being like on the ground being strangled. Well, the tech was a white guy, and I come in, and I'm a bald white guy, and so it looked like, you know, I'm grabbing this black guy off of this white guy, and it looks like I am, you know, like part of the problem.
Right.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
And so you know, it probably should have been handled by somebody else, because now when he went to my therapy sessions, he wasn't going to listen.
Yeah.
You know,
because that's kind of a stint in his head.
He thinks I was one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not at all. You don't know though. So it kind of killed the therapeutic relationship that I had with that client. And, you know, from that point on, I know that's probably an extreme example of working in psych, but that's kind of what I did.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an example.
Yeah.
And it's real time, because, you know,
yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think with my example, it was psych.
Psych as well.
Psych as well. And it wasn't me per se, but it's what I witnessed, because we were in a session. I can't remember if it was like the oppression we were the topic or what it was, but it was a black patient and a white patient. So the white patient was expressing their feelings and yada 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 yada, and they said something about, you know, it's easier, it's so hard for me to express this, you know, just expressing. But the black patient kind of kicked in and was like, okay, and so it kind of set the white patient off and was like, what do you mean? This is, I'm like, I don't get to express my feelings. And they were a part of that era where their parents and their grandparents grew up in Jim Crow. So to be able to express your feelings was not a thing. So they grew up under that. So it was, like I said, chip on the shoulder. But the Caucasian patient was not being, what's the word? Empathetic. So I had to like kind of be the mediator to try to explain and do like a little history lesson, so that the two could get on some common ground. But just those trigger words of like, oh, you can, and like, no, I can't. Because if I really say what I'm really thinking back then, and even now in some cases, I could get fired. You know, so that's why this black patient was sitting there stoic, not really expressing, because they had trained themselves not to express. Because, you know, unfortunately, sometimes Black women are viewed as that angry Black woman when we're passionately expressing how we feel. But unfortunately, Caucasian women are not. Depending on the area that you work in and all those things, right? So we were having that discussion, like we had got way off topic of depression, but it needed to be talked about, because that's why you're depressed. Like, you're not able to express. And you can, but you're not doing it to where it's mindful. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of overbearing.
She was coming from the mindset she didn't want to be a stereotype.
Right. She didn't want to be a stereotype.
And then she was not understanding, or being very...
Not willing to understand.
Not willing to understand.
So I had to take somebody like me who doesn't have one set of features or other, is a combination of both and can attest to both sides.
So you got like a superpower.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I count it as a superpower. I sure do. Yeah.
You're like, everybody looks at me and they're like, I don't know what you are. Just kidding.
And I love it.
It's all right.
It's cool because I want you to get to know me.
Yeah.
Right? You're kind of like, I give up. I give up.
Yeah.
So let's just talk. And then once we finish talking, and then I tell you, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, that is my superpower.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. I wish I had more of that in me. Anyways. All right. So why do you think cultural competency matters particularly to recreational therapy?
It goes back to building a relationship.
Okay.
For me. Because if you have an understanding of the person's background, then you can even develop interventions and sessions that surrounds what they love, like the Day of the Dead. Mm-hmm. So when it's the Day of the Dead, when it's in that season, I'll go purposefully buy skulls. And we paint them, the candy skulls, and we'll paint them. Like all kind of bright and intricate colors with those clients that are Hispanic, and they appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, what we gonna do next week? Such. We're gonna get ready for the Day of the Day.
Yeah.
So it makes them feel seen.
Yeah, it's not because you personally celebrate that yourself. Mm-hmm. You're like, I know that's what they would want to do.
It's a part making the treatment plan individual. Yeah. Bringing in their cultural aspect, making it truly individual, and they feel seen and they want to do more because they know somebody actually gets it.
Yeah, they took the time and learned.
That's
awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got a lot of good content today, I think. So, we talked about that one. All right. This is a hypothetical question, right? So I don't know. You probably don't think about this because you didn't have these questions beforehand. So, all right. So if you could wave a wand, you got a magic wand, okay, and instantly make one improvement in how we approach culture in RT, what would it be?
Make everybody open-minded.
Everybody open-minded.
Everybody open-minded.
So what about the people that think they're open-minded but are open-minded? Like how?
Still.
Yeah.
Because you can never be too open-minded when it comes to learning about somebody else's culture because you're going to always come across something that you didn't know.
Yeah.
So that continuing education and wanting and having the understanding that, okay, I understand this. This will help me in my practice to get this client to do this if I bring this in, this mm-hmm. aspect. So just being open-minded about wanting to get to know about somebody else's culture, their struggles, what they're scared of. Like literally, I have become like, what's the word? The watchman for my clients because they always ask me questions about like what's going on in the news or what do I think about this. So I find myself becoming a part of associations and learning, like, say, with the recent Senate bill, what's going to be in it. Mm-hmm. Because they're scared about, say, Medicaid, mm-hmm. right? And actually talking to certain representatives, hey, is this really going to affect them? Because they are disabled. Like, mm-hmm. you know, how is this going to affect them? Seriously. So mm-hmm. it's like I've become this watchman advocate for, like, a number of things because they feel comfortable with asking me.
Have you found out, like, particularly, I know that it cuts Medicaid, have you found out, like, is that going to trickle down somehow to actually reduce services for clients? Or
I have not. Now, what I did find out was that people with disabilities who gets Medicaid, they will not be cut. It's more aimed towards, like, able-bodied people is what I was told.
Okay.
That's what I found out. So I'm probably going to do some more digging because I was able to get an email address.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to make sure. But I was the only person in Scrubs and I made it clear known that I'm here for them. So I'm going to email and just kind of ask again and make sure because I get asked. Like I even get asked medical questions. because they're scared. And I do have some clients from all races. I have noticed that they don't want to be shunned because their kids are dealing with this diagnosis. And they don't really go a whole lot of places because there may be a episode, or it may be what's the word? They may act out, and then there's judgment and all those things from the public, even still to this day.
So they don't take them.
So they don't really go a lot of places. They're scared. They're worried. So when it comes to certain issues, they'll literally ask me, and I'll do my best to like tell them what to do, what not to do, who they could call, or I'll try to call and find out, let them know the next time I see them. So, depending on how you build rapport, you do become like an advocate.
Yeah. Well, I think you're the right type of person to be out there in the trenches, with clients. I don't get to do that as much anymore, but we need more of that, and I think. What we can learn from today, from listening to Karnada's story and like about the different experiences she's had, and hopefully some of the ones I've had could help you guys out there in your practices to be more empathetic, be an advocate,
yes.
Seek to understand before you assume.
Yes.
I think that's also just regular life how we should be, right?
Right. Yeah. I think if I could wave the wand to get rid of something, don't assume.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Try to take each person as an individual, because sometimes, even in our line of field, we see the same thing over and over again over the years. Mm-hmm. So we start assuming, right?
Yep.
That's not good, because everybody's an individual and they have individual things going on that affect them. And it may look the same on paper, but it's not the same.
So we're different people.
Because we're different people.
Yes.
Even if it's the same diagnosis with A and B, they got the same stuff. It's going to be that one thing that makes them different. And that's the one thing that's going to help you tailor their plan, their interventions, their session to what's going to help them.
I think people in general, like you just pointed out something, and I think it translates to all those things we talked about, race, everything else. We're seeking to put things in a box, and we're seeking to label something and saying this is what anything that's like this is, and we do that with people's disabilities.
Yes.
We're like, anybody who has autism is exactly the same. Anybody who's black is exactly the same. Everybody's white is exactly the same.
Like y'all don't like seasoning.
I freaking love hot sauce. I hate bland food.
Right.
I hate bland food.
You get what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that.
Yeah, and I love mayonnaise. No, just kidding. No, did you know that I'm actually part Middle Eastern?
No.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Why do you think I'm so dark?
Hey.
Look, we're almost the same color. Anyways, but yeah. So, but guys, I know, just have fun.
Yeah.
Just have a little fun in your life.
Please.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Oh, yes.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you can get videos like this in your inbox on Mondays. We are all the way on to episode 28, so we're over halfway there for our year goal of one a week. We'll have 52 by the end of the year, which is crazy awesome. Hopefully, I think this is one of the only channels that is out there for rec therapists that has so much content in it that is related to rec therapy. And that's due to you guys. So you guys, we have these topics that we're going through every single week. And if you stay tuned, you're bound to learn something new.
Yeah.
So guys, I hope you have a great week. And the last thing we always say, right? Stay classy.